Fabulous. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon for the Business Building Homes panel. As most of you know, I'm Jessie and I work for the Housing Festival, and I'm joined by a fabulous setup of people that I will introduce as we go through in a few moments. This session is all about the National Prisoners Building Homes programme, which is simultaneously plugging the construction skills shortage, delivering new homes for people in need, and reducing reoffending by giving individuals not only skills, but also purpose, pride, and hope for the future. It's a bit of a win-win-win here, okay? So, unfortunately, the programme manager, Sophie Baker, is unable to be with us today, so you've got me, so I'm going to try and explain the programme the best that I can, and give you a bit of an overview, and then we'll kind of draw on our panellists, and there'll be time for Q&A as well as we go through. So, Prisoners Building Homes programme came out of the Southwest Reducing Reoffending Partnership, all about partnerships and collaboration really. That was the sort of the main crux of it and how it all came to be. Really, as I said, it came out of that Reducing Reoffending Partnership, so that was the primary goal and the aim of the partnership. As it works, it enables prisoners to develop new skills to increase employability on release as well. So it's working with prisoners, and really is therefore helping us plug a skills gap that we have within the construction sector by training up new individuals who weren't in that sector before. We know that this is a major problem within our industry. We know there is a skills shortage. We know there's a skills gap. We've seen report after report telling us that actually over the next however many years we're going to lose our workforce out of the construction sector, and that it's really significant, particularly with bricklayers and carpenters, etc., etc. That is going to create a massive problem. So one of the key elements of the Prisoners Building Homes programme is addressing that skills shortage and training people up who can start to help plug that gap. But it's not just as simple as that, because really as this skills gap is being plugged, it's also about making sure that we're building new homes in new ways, in the right ways, that are going to help also drive our carbon agenda and bring down that idea of, bring down how much we are utilising natural resources in ways that we just can't sustain on this planet. So actually, it's about building low carbon modular housing and training people up to build that low carbon modular housing, which is really, really crucial. And so part of the Prisoners Building Homes programme is working hand in hand with modular providers, which we've heard loads about so far over these 2 days, to build a workforce that can really sustain that industry specifically. So, working with prisoners and working with prisons, we're using prison workshops as factory spaces, training up individuals who are helping to plug that industry gap, but also, and this is where it really does unlock something here, Prisoners Building Homes works with a procurement framework to provide a solution for public bodies, because it's all well and good doing all that work, unlocking low carbon housing, unlocking our new skills force, and reducing reoffending, if it cannot be applied within the public bodies, within local authorities, within the NHS, within whoever, if we can't actually procure that housing, procure that workforce and utilise them, then we're going nowhere and nothing's going to happen. So part of the beauty of the Prisoners Building Homes programme is the partnership there again with the Southwest Procurement Alliance and their framework, which is providing that solution and enabling local authorities to actually therefore then procure that housing delivered in the right way. It's a programme that is supported by national government, and it also, and again, another one of the absolute crucial keys of this programme, also allows the programme to put some funding into the bills. So particularly for local authorities that have got brownfield parcels of land that they want to see utilised and they want housing built on, but they are hamstrung by the fact that that land cannot be made viable because of contamination or whatever, what have you. Actually, the Prisoners Building Homes programme holds a small fund that has been supported by national government, which is helping to unlock those small sites that would have been seen as completely unviable prior to that, and is enabling the actual delivery of homes. And I, as I mentioned yesterday, do some work within local authorities. I'm actually seconded in, and we've seen these homes being built. This isn't just a pipe dream, this isn't just theory, this is actually in process, practically being delivered, a programme that is delivering real change and real value. Enough from me and enough from that kind of overview of everything. Let's get into the real kind of nuts and bolts of this. So I'm going to introduce first Jason. Jason, why don't you introduce yourself and then perhaps introduce Craig as well?
Yep. Okay, so I'm Jason Bassett. I run a modular factory called Dragon Heart Homes in Peterborough, and we got involved in the prisoner building home scheme about 2.5 years ago. And being driven from we build zero carbon operational homes only in the affordable social sector and for the NHS for key workers. So our core to our business is really about social value, and we then stepped back and opened up our new factory in Peterborough 2.5 years ago, and we were just looking at a way, how do we add more value rather than just producing the homes. And that's when we met up with Sophie Baker, and it felt like a real whirlwind. 4 weeks later, we had our first secondment of David Lee's prisoners working in our factory. And we, as anybody knows who set their factories up, one thing is having an order book, one thing is having a factory, actually having a man workforce to be able to do that and skilling up people to do that in a fashion that's to the quality you want is really important. So we've been doing it, and we've had just over 40 people gone through the programme under the Rottle scheme. Of the 40 people, we have had 32 people have left the scheme with NVQs and CSCS card blue cards. So it's about meaningful training. You know, great if they can come back and work for us at the end of the scheme, but the reality is people go around and they're geographically, their families are spread. So it's really important to enable them to go out and get meaningful jobs, not just we pay a living wage, and it's a holistic value proposition. So some of the money goes to them and their families, a percentage of their salaries go into victim support. Obviously the money that they get goes into a trust that gets released to them when they leave prison. So when they leave prison, they've actually got a nest egg of money that allows them to rent somewhere and actually stops breaking that cycle of having to reoffend because they've got every opportunity. And just to prove that as an option, Craig has been with us and has just come out of the scheme 4 months ago.
October, yeah.
Yeah, and he's about to come back to work for us in the factory, hopefully in the next couple of weeks. So Craig joined us with no experience of construction. We taught him how to drive forklifts, combi lifts, we got him his NVQ, and he now works for us building our steel frames at one end of the factory. And he'll tell me something different in a minute, but I'm sure he'll correct me. And at the end, he'll move them down the factory. And when we get to the final stage, he'll wrap them into the polyfill before they get deployed out onto site. I think the other thing that's very uniquely different about us is we're not just a company that talks about stuff, we're actually building homes today. And we've got a couple of examples of what we've built and what we're building in the next 12 months up on the wall. So it's not just a matter of pen pushing, it's about getting people off the streets, get homeless people into homes, get people out of temporary accommodation. Can't keep on having 160,000 children in temporary accommodation. That is not good for society. And if we can do that with the skilling up of people, that feels like a win-win. So let me introduce you to Craig, and Craig will give you his view and what it's meant to him. The good and bad, there is no script here. Cool, how you see it, Craig?
Yeah. Afternoon, guys. Yeah, as Jason said, just to touch on the lads that have been released, I'm still in contact with quite a few of them, and they are working. 7 out of the 8, one obviously recall, bless him, but 7 out of the 8 all got jobs, 9 to 5, families, taking care of the partner and the kids, and speaking to them, you can see it's uplifting for them. It's better than going down the dark route as they used to. Yeah, I'd start the process with the steelworks, mainly using the combi lift with the crane, because a lot of our parts come in one piece. and then obviously you've got the girders, the long steel. After doing all that, we move it over into the production line. At the other end of the factory, once they're finished, we have to wrap them, label them, get them ready for shipping out. And then once we get them out, we've got to move everything down. You know, the team I work with, or will be going back to work with, we move everything down. Everything, you know, with Dragonheart, I'm not the kind of person that used to like working. I was lazy. I'll be honest, I was lazy, you know. I'd always take the easy way. But then, after doing the sentence I did, it was a bit of a kick up the backside, you know. And then I started working for Jason. And there's a change in you. You know, you go from always taking the easy route, you know, not giving a bother, to actually caring about something, you know, and that's why I've worked hard to get back. And, you know, it took me 4 months to try and get back, because obviously getting out, probation, you know, things like that. But yeah, going back, straight back into the mix of it in my old little gang.
You're still not telling Casper you're coming back.
Oh, no, yeah. I've spoken to a couple of lads as well, I'm told not to tell him. But yeah, Casper, Jason knows, he's one of them people, if you don't, you know, if he's a bit grumpy. But for some reason, he took a bit of a shining to me, you know, and we got on great. So it's nice, you know. I always stayed away from legal people, normality. But, you know, mixing in that environment with grafters, you know, proper grafters, you know, plumbers, lads that are doing the kitchens and things like that. It's a change, but it's a nice change, you know.
I think that's exactly what we try to do with Dragonheart. You know, we are everybody works in the same team. There's 48 people that work in the factory. We work with the same people day in, day out. It's unlike traditional construction sites where the plasterer comes in one day and you never see him again. You know, if Craig doesn't do his job properly, the guy, the next person in the production line goes, "Craig, what are you doing? Yeah. You're making it more hard for me." And you have to work with these people all the time. As I say, the real value to us is about, you know, we break the cycle. You know, reoffending rate less than 10%, and reoffending rate national average is far, far greater. 25%, see. And that's really the key. Giving these guys, it's always really interesting talking to them. You know, one instance when I said to them, "We'll give you a second chance," and being told I've never been given a chance, so this isn't my second chance. I've come from a 4th generation family that have done criminal. So we're not just giving you a chance, it's breaking the cycle for his children as well. 2 weeks ago, we had a new recruit come in, he got his first paycheck, and he came in and went, "Thank you very much. That's the first time we able to give my child enough money to go to the cinema and buy a box of popcorn."
I work for the One Public Estate programme, which is a government programme run jointly by the Cabinet Office, the Local Government Association, which represents local authorities across the country, and our sponsor is the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government. So OPE provided the initial seed funding for the Prisoners Building Homes programme a few years back when it was piloted in the southwest of England. And basically we've been supporting the programme as it now expands across the country. And I guess if Jason and Craig are doing the actual doing and delivering, you know, all the homes, we're kind of behind the scenes looking at how can we grow this, how can we make it bigger, how can we make it better, how can we bring on board more house builders, how can we work with more landowners, particularly public and third sector landowners, to access those sites where we can actually deliver housing? And I guess also, how can we bring more prisons on board as well, and actually, get more prisoners, involved and to kind of benefit from, what the programme can actually offer. So it's a really, really exciting time for the programme at the moment. We're working with the Ministry of Housing and also the Ministry of Justice as well to expand the programme across the country. And we do now have coverage across the entire country, so we're working with 10 priority regions, and that covers all of England. We're working with 9 prisons across the country, 10 house builders, and I can see one of our other house builders, Angus, is in the audience as well. And we're currently working on delivering at this particular point in time over 300 homes across the country, about 100 sites. We've got about 100 prisoners involved, and we really, really want to scale up over the next kind of 12, 18 months. And it's been fantastic, I guess, to have kind of government support to do that. So I guess we're always very interested. From a government perspective, the benefits of this are so obvious. As Jason mentioned, the reoffending rate for the programme is actually, officially we're saying 10% at the moment. Actually, we know it's much, much lower, closer to 1%, which is incredible when the national reoffending rate is just over 25%. Reoffending costs £18 billion a year. So this is such a great way to, start to address that. As Jessie mentioned as well, there's a huge construction skills gap across the country as well. And what's really nice about what we're doing in terms of the expansion of the programme is actually, and we're working with Dragonheart on this as well, looking at setting up a national centre of excellence for modular housing, delivering qualifications. So that's something really exciting we're able to offer at the moment as well. But I guess it's a really exciting time for the programme, and what we'd always say is if you're a public sector or a third sector landowner or a private sector landowner, absolutely get in touch with us, because we'd love to help you unlock your sites. We absolutely recognise that for local authorities, a lot of the sites we typically work on are kind of micro sites, smaller sites, sites up to about 60 units. Public sector landowners have a lot of those sites, but I think if you've worked in that sector, what you'll know is it takes just as much resource and costs just as much to unlock those sites as it does larger sites, which is why they tend not to be prioritised. So we're really keen to, I guess, support those landowners to unlock those sites, and that's something that the One Public Estate programme does as well. So we work with public sector landowners, local authorities in particular, to help unlock, I guess, complex sites for housing. We're also interested, obviously, in bringing more house builders like fabulous Dragonheart and MMC Home Building onto the programme so we can expand further across the country, and that enables us to work with more prisons as well. So yeah, really exciting time. Similarly, we're interested, we're having conversations with various investors at the moment as well. So if this is something your organisation would like to get involved in, obviously the social benefits are fantastic. Once again, get in contact with us. We'd love to talk to you.
Thanks, Belinda, that's really helpful. You mentioned, and I know that you were involved from the very beginning, some of those first conversations when this was all coming through. Can you share a little bit about how you've seen the programme evolve, and particularly from a sort of more government perspective, how you've seen it received within government as well, because it starts off as just a nice idea, and people are obviously tend to be sceptical, don't they, of these kind of big ideas, but how have you seen it received as well from as it's grown?
Yeah, I tell you what, it's been amazing to see the programme grow. The first I kind of came across it was probably about 4 years ago in Cornwall. Sophie Baker, the programme manager, who is amazing, as she's just incredible in terms of what she gets through in a day and her vision for the programme and her ability to make things happen. But I went to a presentation, and Sophie was there, and she spoke about this concept of prisoners building homes. And my colleague and I from the One Public Estate programme were like, oh my God, this is amazing. Let's see if we can support Sophie to kind of expand it across the country. What was fascinating to me at the time was that 5 police and crime commissioners had come together, put their kind of hands in their pocket and said, we will pay for the first pilot home, we'll pay for that to go in Torquay. And they did that, we delivered it, we showed that homes could be delivered on site, like end-to-end costs of 100k, which is incredible. in under 16 weeks, and this was done kind of during that COVID period, and the homes are high spec, they're low carbon, they're incredible. We actually saw it delivered and we're like, this is amazing, what an opportunity. So we've been working with government, and I guess it's kind of been a slow build up, if that makes sense. So understanding what is that kind of, what is the scope in terms of sites available to deliver it? That's obviously critical to our home builders. What is the scope in terms of house builders who are interested, in terms of, ensuring we can get as many prisoners involved as possible? And we've got to a point now where we've got fantastic support from the Housing Minister, the Prisons Minister, so James Timpson as well. And it's just been kind of fantastic to watch it build up and up and up. I think I can safely say Sophie would have liked everything done yesterday, but the wheels of government do turn, I like to say, they do turn a bit slowly sometimes, but meaningfully. So, hopefully we are heading in that direction now, where actually, the sky's the limit in terms of, growing the programme and being able to kind of offer the benefits to prisoners, house builders, and also organisations looking to deliver housing. Because all the housing has been affordable, has been social, and the houses are so nice. They're like so energy efficient. Every time I've gone into one of these houses, I've just thought, I'd love to live here, I'd love to have one of these homes. So it'd be fantastic to see that kind of expand even further.
Brilliant, thank you, Belinda. I am going to open it up to the room for questions in a few moments, but before I do, Jason, I'd like to come back to you. And you've spoken obviously about your passion, particularly for you and for Dragonheart Homes, but for other house builders more generally, why is this actually good for business? Can you tell us a little bit about how it is good for business?
I think it's been really good for our business. I think everybody has preconceptions of people that are in prison. I interview blind. I don't care what they've done in the past. I'm worried about their attitude and what they want to do in the future. It's been really insightful for me. They come in with a complete mindset of, I'm going to make this work because it's for the greater good. I'm building houses for social affordable, but it enables me to, fund my family. It gets to break the cycle. So they're building for a purpose, not just for their own personal use, but for the greater good of building social housing. I've never had an issue. They come in from day one. Okay, they're not skilled people, but they want to listen and they want to learn. They work hard. Obviously they're prisoners, therefore they don't tend to disappear. They turn up every morning, which sounds really weird, but in construction that is really important and not very common. So it's been a really good thing for us. And I think, not trying to steal thunder, we talk about nationally and about government funding. It's, the stats are really clear. For every £1 that gets invested in this programme, we get £3 worth of benefit as a nation. So when we talk about no-brainers and wheels turning slowly, actually this isn't a desktop study, this is real world. We're building homes, we're creating more value, we're breaking the cycle.
And has it been for you a commercial investment as well, in terms of, is it helping in any way when you secure tenders or when you go to public authorities and talking about the social value you can bring into a build? Does it help in that way as well?
Very much so. I mean, it's traditionally, the price points of commercial bidding was 90-10 social, is now sort of 60-40. But when people come in and see our factory and see our people, there's, it's really powerful. But yes, there's commercial benefit.
Right.
People are no longer sitting there going, it's £10 more than somebody else, which is sort of, it used to be.
That's fabulous. Well, we have our panel open for questions. So is there any questions in the room from, yes, great, down in the front.
Yes, I'm really happy to hear you. I'm an architect coming from France in this festival to find new ideas, outstanding ideas. And I don't think this process exists in France. So I will import the good ideas have to be imported in France. And I'm really touched by all you have said. So that's really, really nice idea. And it's more than a housing project. It's a life project. It's a society project. So Thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup, c'est gentil.
Thank you. Yes, Lynn.
Yeah, I have a question. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences. It sounds an incredible project, and I wonder if you feel that there are other industries that this could work in as well, where there are national skill shortages and that pre-release training could help bridge that gap when someone leaves prison.
Very much so. I mean, James Timpson has a very strong vision about it. That yes, construction is what I'm involved in, but he says, you know, you can do this in food processing, effectively any boundaried facility. So, you know, you can't do it out on construction sites because you need to be able to rottle and do the security checks, but effectively anything that's got a secure boundary. Not secure, but a boundary, effectively. But he's doing a lot of stuff with cooks, the food people. So he's very open-eyed to feasibility of expanding the programme.
And I guess similarly as well, the programme is known as Prisoners Building Homes, but we refer to it more commonly as PBH. And it was always set up so it didn't have to just be prisoners, it could be people building homes. And so, pardon me, the programme could also be offered to other groups of people that, you know, would benefit from the opportunity of getting upskilled in construction, whether that's ex-service personnel, whether it's young people, NEETs, etc. So we've always designed it in a way where it can be kind of expanded when we get to that point. But at the moment, the focus is very, very much on upskilling prisoners.
Hi. I must applaud you in this journey because this reflects me. Back in 1996, we did a document called Building Equality, and that was targeting black young children on Sink Estate that was one-parent family, and how we could bring them back into job employment. Rolling back in 2010, I wrote to the Ministry of Justice saying that because they had a high percentage of people coming back from the military, that was rough sleeping, and I thought that if you brought the two together, young prison offenders with people sleeping rough, that's been in the military, as role models, because a lot of those black kids did not have a role model in life, you know, that would then bring them back onto the straight and narrow. Because when we built our scheme, we employed a prisoner, and as what you said, an ex-prisoner, he said that I come from a 4-generation family of prisoners, and I want that to change for my family going forward. And I always remembered how they was punctual, on site, you know, and all he said is that we just want another chance, you know. So I really applaud you for what you're doing. And as you said, that 18 billion is spent in the justice system for reoffending, etc. And with this role model, you know, that sum can come down. So I hope that more local authorities take your concept on board.
Thanks so much. Any other? Just down here.
So are the salaries subsidised in some way, or is that's just your payroll that comes out? And
It's just our payroll.
you keep it in a trust for when people, there's
So
no
they-
sort of subsistence as the...
Yeah, so they get paid living wage, so they get paid the same salary as the guy beside them. So we're not trying to do it to cheap labour. Obviously, if you're in prison, you only have a £25 a week allowance, £35, whatever the figure is. The rest of it goes into a trust fund, which the prison service keep. So they open up a bank account. At the end of, typically people in our programme for about a year, at the end of it, they've got about £10,000 as a walk-away position. So it really is, you can go out and rent and you've got a chance. Where, you know, I'm slightly biased because, you know, you look at the private prison system, you know, quite often they get given £85 and told to get out and no accommodation. And shock horror, people reoffend. Well,
And I guess to add to that as well, by law prisoners do have to be paid for any work that they do, and a proportion of that is ring-fenced as well for victim support as well. So the programme has been very much able to contribute to kind of wider victim support too.
That's brilliant.
Is it Joanne as well as a question?
Oh no,
Yeah,
go on,
go.
do your follow-up, and then we've got one at the back, and then lastly, go on, do your follow-up.
So I'm curious about, did you have to fight, Craig, to get on this? Was it oversubscribed?
I don't let people fight in my factory. It's a bit of a thing for me.
Is there so strict criteria during your waiting list? And I'm curious about the pilots, like, are you in women's prison as well?
We're not in women's prisons
No.
as Dragonheart because you can only be tied into one prison. Obviously, you can't have mixed. Yes, there's a waiting list, and how we're trying to address that is we've built a little centre of training excellence in the prison now. So they've got a little industrial unit where we do a sort of 4 or 6 week taster course, and then we do monthly interviews. I'm tending to try and take 4 or 5 people every month. If I can't take more than that because I can't train more people than that. There's no point in just bringing them into my factory and then not giving them meaningful training. So we have 5 team leads at the moment, 4 or 5 come in each month. That's as we are today. Yes, there's an expansion programme looking to move that forward, but more about that next time around maybe. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I guess exactly as Jason was saying, some of our house builders are based in prisons. So a lot of the house builders will work with Category D prisons, which are the kind of lowest security level prisons, so open prisons where the prisoners can come and go. But similarly, some will, similar to Jason, will set up in higher security prisons, so actually we can get more prisoners involved. And that's been really effective and something we really kind of want to expand. We have worked with women's prisons in the southwest. I'm not 100% sure if we still are though. But that's something we very much we're very keen to involve both men's and women's prisons. It quite often depends on where the house builder is located, what kind of space the prisons have as well, and that's something we're looking at as well. So a lot of prisons actually have space that, with the right investment, could be very good workshop space particularly for modular housing providers, and that's something we're kind of looking at as the programme grows and expands.
Thanks so much. Question right at the back.
Yeah, a question for Craig, if I may. I just wonder how conscious you are of that, the fact that you're building the social homes for other people and potentially what the work that you're doing is potentially giving somebody else a chance of a house. Do you think it would work if you were building homes in a factory for sort of commercial?
Obviously, with what we're doing, there is, gratification, because for who it is for. But to be fair, work's work. As an ex-prisoner, work is work. Don't matter who it's for. You're paying your bills. You're on the straight and narrow. And that's it, for me. If I can pay my bills, support my partner, support my child, done.
Thanks so much. I'm going to come down the front and then over to you, Angus.
No, that's you.
Oh,
yeah. You first, don't worry.
I'm Salah Tanyani's on.
Right.
Hi, we
Hello,
just spoke
yes.
on the phone, so I'm Hamilton Fulham councillor for and land development. And I just want to say, as you said, this is brilliant. Really, really great concept, and it's so nice to hear your story. And I wanted to ask, but you may have touched on it, I'm not sure. So these prisoners are working whilst they're in prison, but then once they've finished prison sentence, they can carry on working with you. Is there like a minimum contract that you put in place as long as they're working to?
So
work
basically,
terms?
the reason they leave us is because they get released from prison. So the reason they leave us is because they get released from the prison system.
Oh, so I
So-
misunderstood. So they're released before they come to work.
No, they're in prison when they come to work for us in the
Right, okay.
factory. Typically that's for about a year, and
Okay.
then they get released back into society.
Yes.
If geographically their family means that they can come and work for us, they were always offered a job, permanent job with us. But you know, because of the way the systems work, you know, some have to go to their families were in Cardiff, yours were in Lincoln. It's very difficult to travel back. Craig, thankfully, is going to come back and live in Peterborough, so he can get to us on a daily basis. But geographically, anybody that goes through the scheme, there's always a full-time job offered to them.
And I suppose at least you're supplying a really good skill set for them to go somewhere else in the private sector.
That's why all the meaningful training is about, you know, the NVQ and the CSCS cards is the.
Yeah.
And nearly all the prisoners who have been through the programme have actually secured employment in construction afterwards. In most cases with the same builder, you know, where that's been possible geographically. In other cases, they've secured other construction roles.
It'd be nice to hear some stories further down the line when, you know, they progress more and more and start to become foremen, you know, and how their careers keep going.
And it's like that's the part I love about the programme, like hearing, you know, how people have turned their lives around and the opportunities they've been afforded as well. We've had some prisoners who've been through the programme and then have taken quite senior roles in construction afterwards, because actually they've got really good people skills. You know, they've got the construction skills needed. And you know that they've had the wonderful opportunities with the modular housing builders as well.
And I think the other really good thing is that at the moment there's 10 builders in the scheme, you know, and we'll try and take each other's people. So if somebody moves and they're near another builder, you know, we'll share people because we know what the training is, we know what those people have been doing, you know. So I haven't trained all those people that work in my factory. Some of those have come from the US of the scheme and they've just moved over because their families are here. You know, we're not. It's not all about Dragonheart, it's about the wider good. So, you know, we don't compete very often.
That's great, thank you. Angus, and then one
Yeah, just a small point of clarification, because I find it slightly ironic about this subsidy from the government. It's the opposite. We're actually paying national insurance on the wages we're paying the prisoners, which I always find slightly amusing. And we deduct PAYE, and we give them paid holidays for when they can't come to the factory because they're having interviews with counselling and all the rest of it. We give them paid holidays as well. And that person, one of the people who've done very well is one of our ex-prisoners. He's earning $65,000 a year for a Tier 1 builder. One of our other ex-prisoners is with us. And he's had a couple of promotions and he's a team leader now. It's a huge success.
There you go, you've got your
Yeah.
real life story as well. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you, Angus. There's a question back.
I heard about your programme a little while back, and thankfully it's not hot. And I'm fascinated as to how quickly we can get this. It just seems such a no-brainer that this isn't part of our system. I mean, the prisoner system is struggling so much, isn't it? And yet at the moment it seems like it's down to a unique few individuals that have got really big hearts that are willing to do exactly what Angus has just said, rather than it being an instrumental part of what we offer as a prison reform system. So I'm interested in what you're doing about that. Sorry to put that quite so bluntly, but like in terms of research, in terms of as the project, what does it look like to get this as part of what we offer those who've been, for whatever reason, are introduced into the prison system?
Yeah, so obviously I wouldn't say I'm representing government as it were here, so I do work for the One Public Estate programme, but I think to answer that question, so as part of the kind of funding that we've had from MHCLG and the MOJ, we do actually have funding available to look at proper business case development. So you're absolutely right. You know, it has been amazing individuals such as Sophie Baker, the programme manager, Jason, Angus, our prisoners such as Craig, who've made the programme a success to date. But what we have now is we actually have resource to look at exactly what are those benefits, what is the opportunity as well. So, I'm sure, Angus would attest to this as well, Jason, we know the sites are out there, how can we unlock those sites, how can we actually bring them forward, make them viable to deliver? And that's something that we are doing right at this moment. So working on that business case, looking at what is the potential for the programme to expand, exactly what kind of investment would we need to make that happen, and that's both private and public investment. And what are the timescales for this as well? So, I think it's safe to say we all would like this expanded across the country. Yesterday, Angus would probably say 4 years ago. But, it's how can we actually, upscale this in a sustainable way? And actually, we're not just working with public sector landowners, we're working with the Church of England as well, which has been amazing. They're obviously, as you all know, a huge landowner interested in delivering housing, and it's how can we support other landowners to bring their sites forward for very much needed social affordable housing.
Fabulous.
I think, sorry, just
Please.
but taking it from the other side, obviously that's about how do you create a pipeline to expand with SMEs, with small companies. So that's one end of it. But in terms of how can it be scalable and how big is the opportunity, we've got 80,000 people locked up in prison at the moment. The back end of last year, before we did the early release, we had 17 people working in their factory that were day release prisoners, and I was the highest employer in the country. So when we talk about scale, this is really quick win stuff. We know it's 1 in 3 benefit in terms of pounds to society. We can scale this really quickly.
And we need 200,000 new skilled people in the industry, so it's a no-brainer.
It's the win-win-win we talked about at the very, very beginning. We are rapidly running out of time. I'm going to come to each of you on my panel just to get your final reflection, any kind of takeaway points, any sort of final thing you want everyone in the room to walk away with. But while you have your moment to think, I'll give you some time to think, don't worry. I just want to say a massive thank you for coming to be part of our session today. After we finish here, we'll be moving into a coffee break, and the coffee break will be for 30 minutes. You've got another 30 minutes to grab a coffee, meet some new people. And at 3:30, you'll have a choice of 2 sessions. Now, session 13, which will be in the next door suite, about what we can do now, de-risking planning particularly, is worth a listen. And then in here, we'll be looking at prop tech. So property technology in action and real examples of boosting local authority housing delivery through property technology. I take it all back, it's the other way. So if you want prop tech, you'll go into that room, which is not what it says here, so pay attention to Ellen, she actually knows what she's talking about. But I want to say thank you so much. My kind of key takeaway from this session is that actually this is a really key thing that we have got to be bedding into everything we do. There's real benefits when we break down some of the silos in the way we think and actually start to cross-pollinate with all our different solutions and bring them together. But Jason, any key takeaways for the room?
I guess key takeaways are that this is a programme that's actually delivering homes today. We're not talking about it, it's not a feasibility study. Homes tomorrow can be done. And the other thing I'd say is, don't think your plots around are complex. We build complex. Car parks, garage sites, small infields, there's lots of pieces of land now that we can actually turn into homes really quickly. Whether it be floodplains or whatever it needs to be, that it can be achieved. We've got architects that can make that work. We just need that opportunity.
Thank you.
And I guess from me, if you're a landowner, whether that's public, private, third sector, and you'd like to deliver housing and you want to get involved, please get in touch with us. If you're a house builder and you'd like to work with prisoners, get involved in the programme, get in touch with us. And I guess if you're an investor as well and you'd like to kind of benefit from the wider social benefits the programme offers, we'd love to have a conversation. And yeah, the homes are amazing. They can be delivered in under 16 weeks for under 100k per unit, depending on the site. So it is a total no-brainer.
Fabulous.
Mine's from the other side, obviously, being a prisoner. I know prisons, I know prisoners. The amount of people that is in prison that would love that second chance, it's unreal. You have got people that have got the qualifications for it, but they've had hard times. Just that little lift. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah.
Brilliant, thank you. And on that note, can you please give my panel